Two retirees, same income, same $700,000 house. One hands the state about $3,000 more every year for the rest of their life. The only difference is which state they retired in, and it's not the one with the famously low property taxes. I'm Jim Stevenson, a realtor here in the Philadelphia suburbs. When retirees ask me whether Pennsylvania or Virginia is the smarter move, I don't guess. I pull the actual numbers. So let's start with the part everybody gets right. Pennsylvania does not tax your retirement income. If you're over 59 and a half, the state takes nothing out of your IRA or 401k. Pensions come out clean, public or private. Social Security is never touched. The flat rate is 3.07%, and none of your retirement money even reaches it. Live on 80 grand a year from a 401k and a pension, and a lot of states would tax a few thousand of it. Pennsylvania takes nothing. So here's the part everybody gets wrong. They'll tell you the catch is brutal property taxes. 1.5%, 2%, they say, and in a tax guide, that's what you'll read. But I went and pulled my own closed sales in the towns retirees actually want. Doylestown, Newtown, Ambler, Westchester. You know what the real effective rate is? Right around 1%. A little under in Westchester, a little over in Ambler. Nowhere near the horror story. The property tax scare is the real mirage, and here's why. Bucks County hasn't done a full reassessment since 1972. Chester and Montgomery have been frozen since the 90s. So your tax bill rides an assessment from decades ago. And against today's prices, it pencils out to about 1%. Because those old assessments lag the market, the price of your homes, the ones my retirees are buying, are actually underassessed. The county's own numbers show it. The expensive houses are quietly getting a tax break. Now, fair warning, there's a bill that could finally force Bucks to reassess after 50 plus years. If that happens, some of these bills climb. So this edge might not last forever. And then there's price. You're probably thinking Pennsylvania is the cheap state anyway. The median home's only $315,000. That's a fair read of the headline, but that median is the whole state. Lancaster farmland and small towns out west. The walkable boroughs retirees actually want. In my own data, the median runs from about $645,000 in Westchester up to $750,000 in Doylestown. Pair those prices with that 1% rate, and your property tax bill lands somewhere around $6,000 to $8,000 a year. That's the number I make people look at before they fall for a borough. So put it together. Pennsylvania doesn't touch your income, and the property tax is a lot tamer than advertised. That should make this easy. But there's one number that decides just how big Pennsylvania's win really is, and almost nobody runs it. The number is your taxable retirement income. How much you pull each year from your 401k or IRA, plus any pension. Basically everything that isn't Social Security, because Virginia treats that money very differently depending on how big it gets. Here's how it works. They give retirees 65 and up a deduction, up to $12,000 each off their retirement income. Sounds generous, but the second your household income passes $75,000, Virginia starts clawing it back dollar by dollar. By about $100,000, it's gone, wiped out. And now every dollar you pull gets taxed, up to almost 6%. Now you're probably thinking the property taxes still swing this back to Virginia. That's what everyone assumes. But here's what actually shows up in my sold data. Take a $700,000 house, normal for Doylestown or Newtown. The property tax on it runs about $7,000 a year. That same house in Virginia, about $5,500. So Virginia saves you maybe $1,500 on the house. That's the whole edge. Meanwhile, pull $100,000 a year from your accounts, and Virginia taxes you around $4,500. Pennsylvania taxes you nothing. Add it up. Pennsylvania comes out roughly $3,000 ahead every single year. And the more you pull, the wider that gap gets. What that means is simple. If you're living on real retirement income, Pennsylvania quietly hands you a raise. So if the money points to Pennsylvania, why does anyone retire in Virginia? Two real reasons. And the first one can quietly take $45,000 from your kids. Pennsylvania has an inheritance tax. Virginia doesn't have one at all. In Pennsylvania, when you leave your estate to your adult children, the state takes 4.5% off the top. Leave it to a sibling, 12%. To a friend or a niece, 15%. So picture a $1 million estate going to your kids. In Virginia, they keep all of it. In Pennsylvania, the state's cut is $45,000. I call it the goodbye tax. You dodge income tax your whole life here, and the state quietly collects on the way out. And if you've got a big IRA you're leaving behind, that 4.5% can hit that too. It's the one place Virginia really beats us. The second one catches the part-timers. Say you plan to do some consulting in retirement or pick up part-time work. Most Pennsylvania towns add a local earned income tax on top of the state rate, usually around 1% higher near the city. And this one's important to get right. It only hits money you actually earn. Your pension and your 401k are safe from it, but that consulting check is fair game. Virginia has no local earned income tax anywhere. A couple smaller ones. Virginia taxes your cars every year based on what they're worth, which can run a few hundred to over $1,000 a year, depending on the county. Pennsylvania doesn't, but Virginia still taxes your groceries, and Pennsylvania doesn't tax groceries or clothing at all. Small stuff, but on a fixed income, the small stuff adds up. So here's where it actually lands. For an affluent retiree pulling real income and buying a nice home in these towns, Pennsylvania wins on cash flow, and it's not close. If your income's modest and you're buying cheaper, Virginia's low rates can still edge it. And if your whole plan is passing a big estate to your kids, that inheritance tax gives Virginia a real argument. But for most of the people I work with, Pennsylvania is simply the cheaper place to actually live. Income tax-free with a property tax that's been frozen in the past quietly working in your favor. That's a combination Virginia just can't match for this buyer. Not at this income, not in these towns. And look, if any of this has you even picturing a move to the Philly suburbs, this is the exact conversation I love having with people. Get on a quick call with me and we'll talk through the areas you're weighing and what matters most to you. And I'll give you the honest read on which towns fit and which ones don't. That alone can save you months of scrolling and second guessing. And to be clear, the call is totally free, zero obligation, no pressure. You don't have to be ready to buy or even close to it. If you're purely in research mode and a move is a year or two off, that's the perfect time to reach out while you've still got room to think it through. So book a call using the link in the description or grab my free Philadelphia Suburbs relocation guide using the QR code on screen. Because here's the part the numbers can't show you. A few weeks back, I sat on a Zoom call with a couple stuck on exactly this. The money already pointed to Pennsylvania, but they still couldn't pull the trigger. So I told them to stop staring at the numbers and look at what they leave out. I'm on this call, the husband's sharing a screen, spreadsheet, color-coded, green for Pennsylvania, blue for Virginia. He's tapping a pen on the desk like the totals might change if he stares hard enough. And the green column's ahead by a few thousand a year. But his wife isn't sold. She's got a coffee mug, and behind her, there's an ultrasound photo taped to the fridge. Their first grandbaby's due in the spring up in New Jersey. She looks at the screen and says, "But we always said we'd get out of here, start fresh somewhere new." And that's the real fight. The numbers say Pennsylvania, the dream says go. The reason I'm telling you this is because the money had already picked a side. But money was never the real decision here. The real decision was quieter than that. Whether you want to retire near the life you've already built or start, a brand new one somewhere else. And once they saw it that way, it stopped being close. Start with healthcare, because at this stage, it outweighs almost everything. Right here in the suburbs, you've got Penn Medicine, Jefferson, and Mainline Health within a short drive, plus Doylestown's own hospital right in town. Some of the highest ranked hospitals in the country, basically in your zip code. And you've got options, a whole cluster of them. So if you need a specialist or a second opinion, you're not driving across the state for it. Penn and Jefferson pull patients from all over the region for cancer and heart care. When you're 70 and a diagnosis lands, you don't want to be 90 minutes from the place that treats it. You want it down the road. And here's something people forget until they've moved. Out here, with this many doctors packed in, you can actually get in with a new one without waiting a year. When you relocate at 65, that matters more than you'd think. In a lot of Virginia, that top tier care is more spread out. Retired to the Shenandoah Valley, and something serious could mean a 60 to 90 minute drive to Charlottesville. For this couple, with a chronic condition already in the picture, that gap was not small. Then there's the day-to-day. Those boroughs, Doylestown, Ambler, places like that, you park the car and you walk. Dinner, the pharmacy, coffee in the morning, the Saturday market, that's borough life. Older homes on smaller lots, taxes on the higher side, and these are 100-year-old houses, so you're budgeting for the roof and the old wiring too. Go with a township instead, and you trade for more yard and a newer build, and you're back in the car for everything. And if you're downsizing, this is where Pennsylvania quietly shines. The suburbs out here are packed with 55 plus communities, single floor carriage homes, low maintenance townhomes where somebody else handles the lawn and the snow. Doylestown alone has a whole cluster of them. And make no mistake, people want in. In my own sales, these towns move in about a week, right around asking, with a third of the buyers paying cash. So when the right place shows up, you move on it. All of that pointed to Pennsylvania. But the thing that actually closed the deal was taped to that fridge, the grandbaby. Their whole family sits in the Northeast, and from the Philly suburbs, you're a straight shot up the Amtrak corridor. You can be in New York or back in New Jersey in about the time it takes some folks to fight traffic to dinner. For most of Virginia, that trip's a long highway haul or a flight with a layover. When that grandbaby's 90 minutes away instead of 6 hours, you actually watch them grow up. Not on a holiday calendar, on a random Tuesday because you felt like it and the train was right there. That's the part no spreadsheet could price. So they picked Pennsylvania. The numbers helped, but what sealed it was the hospital 15 minutes out and the train that puts them a short ride from that first grandbaby. They let go of the fresh start fantasy and they got the part that actually mattered. So now you know the real math on Pennsylvania versus Virginia. PA wins almost everywhere except one spot, the inheritance tax, the goodbye tax, but it's nowhere near as unavoidable as it looks. There are legal ways to shrink what the state takes down to almost nothing, and most families never hear about them until it's too late. So watch the video on screen next. I'll show you exactly how to keep Pennsylvania's hand out of your kid's inheritance, because keeping that money in the family might be the most important move we've talked about yet. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.